And I wonder when I sing along with you, if everything could ever be this real forever, if anything could ever be this good again. That's a song called Everlong by the band Foo Fighters. It's from their album The Color and the Shape from 1997. They're obviously a great band. They're phenomenal. The singer's Dave Grohl. He was the drummer for Nirvana. Kurt Cobain passed away, so he had to go to another band, basically start another band, and Foo Fighters is the result. And they're one of the all-time great rock bands. And that song, whenever I hear it, I get extremely emotional. It's just a really like awesome song. Like I've seen the acoustic version played. I've seen all sorts of performances of it. Um, you know, it's one of those things, if when I sing along with you, if everything could be this real forever. Apparently Dave Grohl said it was about a girl, a former girl that he was like dating. So it's a very like song from the heart. And apparently it's David Letterman's like favorite song ever. I might have that wrong, but I think I'm right on it. And just one of those songs, man. Joe, you've heard this song. What do you think about the song Everlong by Foo
Good
Fighters?
song. Dave Grohl was the drummer in one of the best bands ever. And he's a really talented dude. You know, I could just I've been there, not so much as and I wonder when I sing along with you. Now I don't hear literal singing. To me, when I hear this is he was having a moment at a young age, with a female that he was crazy about, and the hormones were running, and he just thought, my God, this is unbelievable. This is tremendous right now. I don't know if I'm ever going to feel like this about someone, with someone again. It's like this moment. And we've all been there. And I've had that experience. And, he's taken a moment out of his life to acknowledge this little second here, this little minute, this little time right here, right now. It could be the pinnacle. It's just unbelievable. I don't know if I'm ever going to feel this way again. Everything is right. Everything is right with the universe when you're this close to me, when you're right here and everything is good. So that's what I take from it. And I think he would want me to take my own personal. I think every artist wants people to take their own personal, story or feeling from a song. Not the same. They all want to personalize it,
Yeah.
and that's what I get
So
out of
when
it.
you hear, I love to take my own interpretation. I love to interpret it the way I want to, because that's what music is.
Yes,
Music's supposed to be for
thank
each
you,
person individually, how it makes them feel.
thank
But
you.
he also says it's about being connected to someone so much that not only do you love them physically and spiritually, but when you sing along with them, you harmonize perfectly. So it's like everything's going well. You're in
Yep,
love, physically and spiritual, and then when you're not just singing with them, when you're talking with them, when you have good conversations with people, it could even be like friendships that you have. It doesn't have to be a fucking romance.
right.
Just getting along with people and just having this, think about, damn, like, we get along so well. I'm so happy I have these great people in my life, whether it be a girlfriend or just a friend.
Right,
Um,
right.
and you harmonize perfectly when you talk. You're like, man, there's really not a lot of gaps in the conversation. There's not awkward silences. We're just really vibing together. We're not stressing about the conversation and what we're going to say next. It's just like we're just talking.
Yeah,
And like the way he sings this song, I think literally everyone over the age of like 30 in the United States of America, at least, has probably heard Everlong. They've had their heard. You can't escape the song.
hmm
It was huge. It's from 1997, but just a great song. But it got me thinking too a little bit about that Latina woman that you dated. At one point you guys were like thinking marriage, and you guys are really close. But um,
yeah. Well, it was just one of those things that, God, and I'll make this quick, but I met her back in the late 1980s. I was working as a clothing salesman in a Cherry Hill mall, one of the clothing stores there, fine clothes, suits, sport coats, this kind of thing. And she came on as Christmas help. And when she came on as Christmas help, I actually approached her. I didn't know she was coming on. And I said, can I help you, miss? Because sometimes women would come in to buy something like a tie or a shirt for their guy, So I just walked up and she said, she looked at me and smiled. She goes, yeah, I work here. I'm like, what? And that was it. We started talking and I just thought she was adorable. And I guess she thought the same. I don't know. But we became very close, and we were together for about 2.5 years. The reason you and I were talking about this recently, and because it's been a while ago, in that 2.5 years, I was fortunate enough to not only be with her, and she was great to be with and wonderful and all that kind of stuff, but she introduced me to a lot of culture that I hadn't been introduced to before. And one of the things that she showed me about was January 6th every year is Three Kings Day, otherwise known as the Feast of the Epiphany. But Three Kings Day, when people say, "What?" Well, you remember the story, right? It's the 12 days of Christmas start for them on the 25th, and they move out. And if you go 12 days, it's January 6th. And what is that? What happened there? What happened there was the Magi, the three kings, were traveling all that way, all those many miles during that time to get to baby Jesus. And they got to him, as the story goes, on January 6th. So it is Three Kings Day, and it's celebrated in many countries all over the world, but predominantly in Latino countries all over the world, and Latinos that live here in the United States. And I just thought it was so cool because I love the baby Jesus. The Magi were dudes that saw the star and knew what was up, and they said, "We got to get over there," that kind of a thing. And I just love, I love little traditions and so forth. And one of the things that they do, all the Latin countries that observe this, is the kids, they'll put a little straw out, put their shoes by the door or wherever they're going to put them. They put their shoes out, and then they put a little straw and a little water for the camels that are transporting the Magi. So the kids will wake up the next day with a little gift brought to them by the Magi, not by Santa, but by the Magi.
When you told me that, I was like, what are you talking about? What is that? And what's it called exactly?
The Feast of the Epiphany is the formal name. Okay. But they just call it Three Kings Day. And it's something that even I thought, what are you talking about? And then she goes, "Oh, no, this and that and that." And I thought, oh, and that's just one of many things that, despite the fact that she was just knocked out. I mean, let's not get it twisted. But despite that fact, all the things she showed me, cultural wise, were really great. And it also spurred in me a hunger to always have my feelers out for other cultures and to learn other, because it's just so interesting. So that's how I became.
What country was she from?
Ecuador.
Okay, so she's Ecuadorian. Okay. Was that your first girlfriend who was not just white, or was that your first
not exactly, but okay. No, I had I'm not going to go through ethnicities there. I had an African-American girlfriend before her for a short period of time, couple of about maybe 5-6 months. That's all. I mean, it was, that was not, I had already been very familiar with the African-American culture, so it's not the same. But other than that, no. Italian, Jewish, Italian, Polish, no. I mean, I don't think of any. I can't think of any, okay. Unless there's, so yes, it was the first, well, other than the African-American girlfriend I had about, 3-4 years before that. That was the first one that was out. And this was really a different, because she came over here, around when she was about 14 or 15. So she was first generation. She spoke really fluent English, but she spoke it with an accent, and she spoke Spanish that would just just knock your head off. I mean, it was just unbelievable. So it was cool.
Awesome, man.
Three Kings Day. I wanted us to really mention it, Sean, because we love everybody. We really, really do. We don't just talk that stuff. We walk it. We love everybody, and we love all cultures, and we would try to observe holidays. So, and then Ramadan's down the road. We found out, one of the things you and I found out is it's not around Christmas time, but we're going to talk about Ramadan and what that means down the road. But for now, to wrap up the whole Christmas season, and we did Kwanzaa, and we did Hanukkah, we did everything. So it's good that we wrap this up and explain what it is, because that's actually really interesting. Everyone forgets about those three dudes.
Exactly. Just while we're on the topic, I guess, I turned you on to a show called The Chosen. It's streaming pretty much everywhere. Yes. It's about the life of Jesus through the eyes of disciples.
Yes.
And I've been enjoying it so far. Like, cause when I was younger, I went to Catholic school and stuff, and we were forced to watch some of these movies, and some of them are so boring and educational, but this is like a real show. I believe it's crowdsourced. So all the funding is coming from the public. And it's really awesome. It's like, I didn't even know it existed until I was at the movies and I saw a poster that said The Chosen. I'm like, what is this? Then I looked into it. So far there's been 3 seasons out. It's pretty much free on all, it's free if you download the Chosen app and just download the Chosen app on whatever iOS or Android, or if you're in your Fire Stick or your Roku. And season 3 is already on there, and season 1 and 2 is on Peacock and Prime. I know that. But I'm enjoying it so far. It's really kind of giving me perspective, because I'm thinking to myself while I'm watching this, I'm like, even if this is part fiction, it's still amazing. It feels like just a possibility this could be like a real story about this man's life and how much of an impact he had. So far it's good. And all like his disciples and stuff are like normal, like rough guys with like different jobs, like fishermen and stuff, carpenters, businessmen, even like tax collectors. Like one guy Matthew was a tax collector, and that was frowned upon by like his Jewish community, because it's like he went to work for the Romans and he was collecting taxes from the Romans, his fellow people. He was collecting taxes for the Romans from the Jewish people, and they were like, "This guy's a scumbag. Why is he doing this just for money?" They gave him a house, they gave him all his benefits. So there's storylines like that, where it's not just like boring religion. It's like I'm watching like a real show. Like this could be like, a movie that I see. And just because I, happen to know it involves like, Christianity and religion, doesn't make it any less entertaining to me. But so far, like, what do you think about the show?
I'm so glad that I saw it advertised. I'm so glad you reminded me of it. I watched episodes 1 and 2. I know I'm going to be locked, stock, and barrel with this thing. I absolutely love it because it makes you feel like you're standing, like you're a fly on the wall, and this is actually happening. The people who did this, they really researched the living daylights out of it, and it is almost like being a fly on the wall 2,000 years ago, standing it, because we've all heard the story so many times, but this is actually, you're getting the humanity side of it. You're getting all the things like you just mentioned that you didn't know. You're finding out about Mary Magdalene, and you're finding out she was just a little girl, and her father taught her how to pray. And it turns out she had some, she had some things done to her that shouldn't have been done to her, and, abuse wise. And, she wound up with a lot of problems because of it. And she was about to, this was really powerful. She was, first of all, what was really powerful, she was thinking about taking her own life, and she asked the bartender for some poison. And she's getting ready to drink it, and some guy puts his hand on her hand and said, "That's not for you." And she looks up, and it's a stranger looking guy. She doesn't know who it is. She just leaves. She's all upset. She leaves the place. He walks out behind her, and he says, "Mary." And she's like, "Well, how does he know my name?" And she turns. And then he goes on to recite the prayer that her father taught her when she was a little girl. And she's like, "Who are you?" And he goes on further. And all of a sudden, she just drops. She knows what's going on here. And that was powerful. That was one powerful moment. Another powerful moment was when she was standing on that cliff, Sean. And she was thinking about, because she said, "I'm in hell." She was suffering so much and hurting so much inside. She was in her own hell. She's standing on that cliff, and you could tell that she was thinking about, ending it all. And this white dove, i.e. the Holy Spirit, flapping just above her, just enough to get her attention, just enough to make her wonder again. And she looks at it, and she figures, she turns back and she starts walking the other way. She didn't kill herself. Just things like that are really, really powerful. And like I said, I don't want to just see another, redo of this thing the way this is really deep, and it shows you a lot of depth within each character, and it lays it down, it lays it down in a real way, in a real life way. So everyone likes to, Mary Magdalene, she was a prostitute. Ugh. Wait a minute.
Joe, I think it's Mary Magdalene, M-A-G.
What am I saying?
I think are you saying Madeline?
I thought
It's
I was saying Magdalene, but I don't
okay.
think
Yeah,
anyone's confusing this woman I'm
yeah. I just
talking about with James
oh no,
Carvel's wife.
they
I don't
know,
think that.
they probably know it's
Yeah,
married.
yeah, it's yeah.
I just
I
want to
mean,
make sure.
listen,
Just want to make sure
yeah, that's okay.
if they want to research her, if they want to look her up, it's it's married, and her last name is Magdalene, Magdalene.
And for the
Just
life of
for
me, I
anybody.
thought that's what I was saying. I'm sorry. I stand
Okay.
corrected. Not a
You got
big
that.
deal.
You also got that Philly accent, so I want to make sure the Philly accent is not
Not a
driving
big
out
deal.
that G.
But to write and say, oh, she's a prostitute, this and that. Well, you got to re-rack and see exactly what happened with this poor young lady and why she made some of the decisions she did. And your heart goes out to her. But, and I said, I'm only two episodes deep, but I like the way it's done. I read a little bit about the way they constructed it, and they said they tried everything. They left no stone unturned. They tried everything they could do to keep to preserve the historical accuracy of it as much as they could do. And even historians were like, yes, we sign off on it. So that's good enough for me. It's really, Sean, it might be one of the best things on TV in the last 25 years. I don't know. I'm going to find out. But
That's what because I was hesitant to bring it up on the show because I don't want it to become like a religious show. We're not preachers.
No,
we're not priests.
we're not.
We're
Neither
not
one of
holy
us
men.
are
We're not men of the cloth. We're just two guys from New Jersey who you're more Philly area, I'm more Jersey Shore area, but like, this stuff is powerful. And, I kind of like went away from the church for a while because I went to Catholic school like my whole life, including Villanova. And I just never like, it was like one of those things where it's like it's forced upon you as a kid. You're like, I don't really care about this stuff. It's just like going through the motions. But
right.
As I'm an adult now, as I'm 36 and as things happen, and as I start to view life from a different perspective, I'm like, it's nice to have at least a spiritual belief. If it's not Catholicism, it's not Judaism, it's not Muslim, if it's not Buddhism, it's like, what is it? I believe in a higher power. And I want to know the history of every religion. I'm not gonna just like say like, okay, they're Muslims, I don't believe in that. I want to give everyone a chance. So if there's a Muslim show about Muhammad, the Prophet Muhammad, I'd certainly watch that too. Yeah, it's been awesome so far. The show, I'm on season 3. I'm enjoying it. I'm gonna run out of episodes. I have to wait for season 4, but we're not promoting religion per se, but just a good solid show. And it gives you perspective on religion, because a lot of people will be like, oh, Christians and they're crazy religious fanatics, but just realize there's a real story behind it. And then you see throughout the show, like the disciples are like with their pen and paper and they're writing down everything that Jesus is doing. They're documenting his life and his miracles. Because that's what I was always hesitant about, believing the miracles. I'm like, did he really make someone who blind see? Did he really make someone who was paralyzed walk? And I'm still not 100% sold on that. But just watching the show, I'm like, it's possible this guy could really have been that blessed and that the son of God. And he had these superpowers. And like, it scared the Romans and it scared a lot of people and they thought he was a threat. And the whole story. But this story, I mean, this show is really detailed and it's really just like, I'm just watching the show. It's like I'm watching a show on HBO or Showtime or Hulu or FX or wherever the hell I'm watching it on. And I'm not thinking too much about religion, but after each episode, I'm like, man, I think I just learned a little bit more about Christianity and religion. So it's historical. It's cool. That's why a lot of people like the History Channel,
And you just hit on two things. I love history too. I love history. I used to love when I was in grade school. I used to love when they would do lessons about ancient Egypt, because I would my mind would just travel to this place where the sky was blue and it was warm and it was always sunny, and they're building these pyramids and all these funny costumes they would wear and all kind of. I loved that whole kind of thing. So I love history, and like Civil War and Abraham Lincoln to me is it's unbelievable. It's just one of our best. But just history in general, I like. That's A. And this thing here, this program is very historically accurate, and that to me is very interesting. The other thing is, I don't have to tell you. Now, I am anybody who knows me. I am not. First of all, I was born once. Right? I don't need to be born again. I was born once. In 1964, I was born once, and I'm not any zealot over here telling you got to know them, no eternal damnation. None of that stuff. We're not that. Listen, I'm not that kind of. It's just not the kind. I don't even go to church that often. I go to church about once a month because I want to, not because I think I'm going to be punished if I don't. That's horse shit. Okay. I go because I want to about once a month, because, I told you this before. I get a massage every once in a while from Hand and Stone, like professional massages now. I get a rub down every once in a while. when I go to church, it's like getting a rub down for my soul. That's the way I have to explain it. And I do it about once a month because, like I said, I want to. My point is you and I were not this isn't a religious show. I'm not trying to get you to swear to anything or do anything. I'm just trying to explain that for me and the way I was raised, and I love my dad more than anything in this world, that Christ was a big part of his life. I can never be the kind of guy he was. He went to church every single week. He always had a little envelope in his hand, and when I go, I give a little bit. But every week he went he always did extra work for the church, and always he never drank, he never smoked. I didn't hear him swear that often. I mean, I just can't be that kind of dude. I love my dad, but what I can do is realize that Christ was a big part of his life, and if Christ was a big part of his life, it's a big part of who I am. And it's just every now and then, and it's, you know what it is? It's not church. It's all day, every day. About today, I bet you about 25 to 30 times I thought about either my pop or Christ or both, or what they would say or what they would do. And that's just that's just the line I walk. But I do want to emphasize that thoroughly, because I don't want anyone to get it twisted and say, "Oh, those guys are just Bible," or they think they're no. I do so many things wrong; it's unbelievable. You know, you ever hear that song, "Save the Wretch Like Me"? Well, this is a wretch here, and that's why I go to church, not because I'm perfect, because I'm so imperfect it's not even funny, and that's why I need God, not because I think I'm perfect or better than anyone, because I don't think I'm better than anyone, and I think I'm so imperfect it's not funny. That's why I need God. So this whole thing about, being religious, quote unquote, I wouldn't say that I am. I'm spiritual, but I love Jesus. Period.
Yeah. Well said. I appreciate your perspective.
Thanks.
Just moving on quickly. I just want to pat myself on the back. Last episode, I talked about how I saw that new movie, Megan. It's short for Model 3 Generative Android. It's about like an evil robot girl doll. And, I predicted it's going to make 30 million in the box office, because when I went to theater, it was full. There was a vibe about it. I didn't know if it would beat Avatar, because Avatar is, it's been in theaters for a couple of weeks, but Avatar is still the king of the box office right now. But Megan made 30 million, just as I said. So I pat myself on the back. That prediction came true. But I told Joe, I texted you, I was like, dude, I nailed it, man. 30 million. And you're just like, all you said was K. And it's just not impressed at all.
Dude,
not impressed at all.
You should know me, but if you text me when I'm napping, or I'm like, if I'm in my recliner and I'm napping, I don't care what you predicted. I'm napping, dude. It's like, okay. Oh, yeah. Good. Great.
Yeah, so,
but great, Sean. Tremendous prediction.
Keeping in the spirit of movies, today's actor we're going to feature is Jeremy Renner. So we talked about him last episode on the real versus fake news stories. He's the guy who helped a family member out when they were stuck in the snow. He plowed their car, but then he got run over by the plow. $14,000 pound plow, and he got severely injured. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy's in the spotlight right now. He's a great actor. He's going through a tough time in the hospital. Why not put him on the show as our actor of the week, or at least this episode? He was born in 1971. He grew up in California. I think one of his parents owned a bowling alley. I'm always interested in these stories about their backgrounds. And I think it wasn't until junior college, he was doing a project for you had to train on domestic violence and see what police have to go through when they stop domestic violence. So the combination of him doing that training and, going to junior college, he ended up getting into acting. He learned a lot from that, the police academy, whatever that was that he learned about for that role or whatever he was doing. And then he started training classically in acting. A lot of actors, I noticed, they moved to the conservatory in San Francisco to classically train. So it's one thing I've picked up on while studying some of these actors the past couple episodes. But he's a great actor. He's believable. He's a normal looking guy. He's not this Brad Pitt or Leonardo DiCaprio looking guy. No, he's a normal looking guy, and he's just so believable. A lot of people know him now from the show Mayor of Kingstown. Mayor of Kingstown's a good show on Paramount Plus. The new season's starting on January 15th, I believe. It's coming back streaming. But he's just believable. He could be an arrogant prick. He can just, you have a mouth, a potty mouth, where he's cursing constantly. He'll say things that piss people off. He's a tough guy. He's not afraid to fight. And when I really first saw him was in a movie called The Town with Ben Affleck.
Yeah, I was just going to say, wasn't he in that with? Yeah.
I saw that in the movies in New York City. It came out in 2010. I saw it in New York City in the movies, and I love that movie. So The Town's obviously in my top 5. He plays a character in that movie Jim. And Affleck plays Doug. And then like they're arguing because he wants to do like they want to like rob a flower shop or whatever. There's like this, there's like this florist, and there's the florist knows no, they don't think they want to rob a flower shop. Like the florist has connections to do something else. They have one of those jobs. Like they're doing all these heists basically, like just robbing banks, robbing stores, doing whatever, robbing trucks. So the florist has a good idea or something. And then Affleck in the middle of that. Sorry, if anybody hears silence, it's because I'm utilizing the cough button. I'm not trying to cough right now while I'm on air. So if there's a little bit of silence, it's not an audio issue. It's me coughing usually.
That's fine. That's fine.
But anyway, so they're talking about the job and Jim's telling him, he's like, telling Ben Affleck's character, he's like, you got to do this with us and stuff like that. And Affleck's saying to him he's like, all you give a fuck about is Coke and Xbox. And then like Jim, he's the type of guy, it's the type of character, like instead of having all this talking back and forth, and he eventually punches Affleck in the face. That's just a memorable one of the scenes from that movie. But throughout the whole movie, you see Renner. That's when I really knew who Renner was, because before that, he was a really small time actor. Like, I might have just remember him from. Well, it's also in my top 5, but he was in a movie called SWAT, in 2003 about the SWAT team. That was a good movie. So that's when I really. But he was actually nominated for an Academy Award in this movie called The Hurt Locker. The Hurt Locker is about he's a military guy, and he's like a sergeant or something like that. It's from 2008, that movie, but I don't think I had seen The Hurt Locker before The Town. I think what happened was I saw The Town, and then I might have saw The Hurt Locker. I don't really remember.
The Town was in 2010.
I know, but I'm telling you, The Town was in 2010. Hurt Locker was in 2008. But what I'm saying is I don't remember if I saw The Hurt Locker before I saw The Town.
Oh, gotcha.
I didn't see The Hurt Locker when it first came out. So, but he was excellent in that. So I eventually saw that movie. So my top 5 for Renner. I'm going to go with The Town at number 1. I'm going to go with Mayor of Kingstown, a show that's on Paramount Plus, at number 2. I think I'm going to go with Lords of Dogtown from 2005, because that was another movie. Like, I didn't even realize that he was in Lords of Dogtown. That's about like the skating, how the skateboard industry really like started growing in California.
Oh,
that movie
I saw that. I love that movie. Yes.
Yeah, that movie was sick.
Yes.
So he was in that, and that's obviously in my top 5. But also that Heath Ledger was in The Lords of Dogtown. Remember Heath Ledger passed away. We talked about the mother of his child, Michelle Williams, a couple episodes ago. But Heath Ledger was in that movie. I don't even know what Renner's role was in Lords of Dogtown. I'm trying to see like what.
I can't remember. I just remembered enjoying that. That's the way he used to break into people's backyards and skate their pools, their empty pools.
Yeah.
It was fun.
But Renner was such a small time actor at that time. Like he wasn't even like he didn't like make his mark until like The Hurt Locker in 2008. Like he was in SWAT, but he had a small part in SWAT. I think he was just like some character in it. But I have to really, if you look at Lords of Dogtown on IMDb, it's like not even it's like doesn't even show Renner's part, but I know he's listed and he's in that movie. But anyway, that's 3. 4 and 5, I'll probably go with American Hustle. American Hustle because I love Jennifer Lawrence. American Hustle from 2013. That was a good movie. Did you see that, Joe? American Hustle?
American Hustle. No, I know what you're talking about, but I haven't seen
Bale, Amy Adams, Bradley Cooper, Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the movie. I haven't seen it though.
Yeah, I think that's a movie. Definitely check that movie out, man, for sure. Cool. So I think that's 4, and then 5 is probably between SWAT or Hurt Locker, probably, because I could easily just say low hanging fruit and just say like, oh, he was amazing in the Avengers, because he plays a character in the Avengers, like one of the highest grossing films of all time franchises, the Avengers, the superhero films. He plays a character called Hawkeye. But I haven't really I'm not a big fan of superhero movies. They're so generic. They're so full of CGI and special effects. It's just like, where's the story? It's like a lot of people disagree with me on that. They're like, the superhero movies are the best. That's what movies are about these days. It's all about the spectacle. It's all about the CGI. But no, I don't really, I'll watch the movies just to keep track of what's going on in the Marvel universe and stuff. But not my favorite genre of movies. But they made a show, a spinoff from the adventures from his character Hawkeye. It's called Hawkeye, and he's in that. I think it's on Disney Plus. I'm not sure. I think it is. But anyway, so he's a lot of people listening to the younger audience here. They'll probably realize that he's that's Hawkeye from Avengers, but he's much more than that. He's a well-versed actor and he's very talented. Joe, what are your recollections? Do you have any recollection of this guy?
I remember you talking about the Ben with Ben Affleck with the in Boston there, the town, I guess it was.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember that. I remember Hurt Locker, certainly. Now that you bring it to my attention, um, I remember the movie Lords of Dogs. That's why I got such a reaction from it because I remember enjoying that movie. I thought it was cool. I thought it was different and funny. I can't exactly pinpoint him there though. I can't. I know he obviously was in it, but I can't pinpoint um, where he was in it. But other than that, not a special. I'm not a big. I know he was in one of these Bourne movies, the Bourne Identity or Bourne something.
Yeah, yeah, basically, like that's supposed to be Matt Damon's the Bourne guy. He's the Bourne Identity. He's the Bourne all those movies, the franchise. But Jeremy Renner did like a random Bourne movie too. He was in that, but I didn't put it in my top 5 because honestly, I didn't really like the one that he was in.
Right.
Sorry to Jeremy. You know, he's a great actor and he's obviously a great guy. But you know, yeah, I didn't really like his Bourne movie. I thought Matt Damon's the guy. You know, he's the one he's the Bourne in my mind. So
Yeah. No, but no.
Jason Bourne is Matt Damon.
For your Ed Harris type of actors, your backs, you know, your B minus actors and so forth. I think that's a kind of dude we want, man.
Also, but in case anybody doesn't know, he's also a musician. He had like a very catchy song in a commercial. And it's like I can even think of the song in my head right now. I'm like I can hear it playing. So like this, he's not, you know, he's an actor for, you know, that's his main thing, but he's got a song called Main Attraction. It's called Main Attraction. It's actually pretty good. I wish I could play it on the show, but there's obviously copyright issues. But it's really good. It's from, I don't know what commercial it's from, but it's like, it used to be on this truck commercial all the time. But yeah, so he's very, you know, he's got a lot of range. I think it's from a Jeep commercial. It's from a Jeep campaign from 2019. So if you look up like Jeep Main Attraction on YouTube, you can actually watch the commercials. But it was actually legit. When I saw it at first, I'm like, what is that Jeremy Renner singing? Like, what the hell's going on? Why is he singing in a Jeep commercial? He's an actor. But it's a good song, you know?
Yeah.
So he's a pretty talented guy. I just wanted to spotlight him. You know, as far as our Snapple fact today, so we got Snapple fact number 256. And the Snapple fact today is there are more saunas than cars in Finland. And Joe, just off the top of your head, why do you think that there's more saunas than cars in Finland? What's your first like opinion or reaction?
My knee-jerk reaction is because it's so doggone cold there. That would be the first knee-jerk reaction is Finland. I imagine it's pretty doggone cold out that way, and it's just something that they do as a way of life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so basically the reason is there's a lot of history in Finland, obviously, but they were the place for purification rituals before marriage. But also the bodies of the dead were washed and prepared for burial on the wooden benches. So that for many Finns, they call the Finland people, they call them the Finns. The sauna was the holiest room in the house and the most closely associated with their well-being. Even women gave birth to them because the walls of the saunas were lined with naturally bacteria-resistant soot. Yeah, it's the cleanest room in the house, apparently.
Wow.
And also a lot of Finnish people have like cottages on like different coasts of Finland, and they go there for at least like 99% of the country apparently goes on vacations to their cottages. So they're living pretty well, I guess. They have some cottages besides their houses, if I read that correctly. But and then a lot of the cottages have saunas to really relax and purify your body. But for me, from my experience with saunas, I haven't been in many of them. But I played youth soccer. I was in one team I was on, it was called the Middletown Devils. One time we were at like this game and we were at like this locker room, like this facility had a sauna, and we all went in the sauna and we're like cracking jokes. Guys are like farting and shit and like just fucking around. Like we're like, you know, we're like 13 or 14 at the time, I think. But, you know, someone said like it's not that funny. It's kind of funny. It was more funny in the moment, but one of my teammates, I don't remember. I wish I remembered his name. He was a funny guy though, but, he said, you know, it feels like a sauna in here. And we all start cracking up. Yeah. Because it is a sauna. You know?
Right.
So whenever we went somewhere that was kind of hot out, he would always say, "It's like it feels like a sauna out here." It feels like we'd always remember that moment when we were in the sauna. But yeah, my gym has a sauna. My friend Anthony, apparently he has like his own sauna and it's like a portable sauna in his house. Apparently it's really good for the body. Like it purifies you. Even after you work out, go in the sauna and just sweat out the toxins. And it's apparently very healthy. Joe, have you ever been in a sauna?
Yeah, in different health clubs. I've never been in anyone's private sauna, but I've been in saunas quite a bit in health clubs. And yeah, anytime you can get the pores open, it's a darn good thing. With me, I sweat so damn much anyway, just from working out, that I'll be dripping wet with sweat, so it doesn't matter. But sometimes it's nice just to get in there and to get that warmth and to get sweating a little bit. Now, don't overdo it. You could, dehydrate and mess around and have to go to the hospital. But, a good 15, 20 minutes in there. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
One thing I just looked up, the average lifespan in Finland is 82 years, and the average lifespan in the U.S. is only 77 years. So maybe those extra 5 years of their life is because they're spending so much damn time in saunas, man.
Well,
I'm speculating, obviously.
Yeah,
it's in jest, it's facetious, but imagine if there was real studies that the value of saunas, like if everyone spent like an hour in a sauna like once or twice a week, it would like increase your lifespan. That would be wild to find out.
It would be. I don't think that's the reason, but it's neat. If you're selling saunas, that would be something to use.
Yeah, I forgot to tell everyone, I'm actually a professional sauna salesman. This is an ad.
Yeah. We want you to
so
live longer.
We're gonna move on. We got another segment, Joe. We got the real versus fake news story segment again. Because some people really enjoyed that last episode. So I got three stories for you, Joe. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay. So first story that I just read: Clint Eastwood is gonna freeze his body. He's like in his 90s now. He wants to freeze his body and return to Hollywood in 2050 when the technology allows him to stop aging permanently. He thinks by 2050 we could figure out technology that ceases your aging. So he's choosing this. He's going to freeze his body in the next couple months. That's the story that I just read. That's number one. Number two, Terrell Owens, the former football player, an Eagle legend, a Cowboy legend, a 49er legend. He was on the Bengals and Bills, but he's more Eagles, 49ers, and Cowboys. He's trying to make a comeback. He's 49 years old. He hasn't played since 2010 with the Bengals. But I will say, when he played in 2010 with the Bengals, he had like 70 or 80 catches. So he's still playing at a high level. I think he was like 37 now. 37 then. Now he's 49. That's another story. And the other story is that I was surprised at this. When I read this, I was really – Amazon's considering changing their name. Amazon, the big company Amazon, they're considering changing their name. And I'm thinking to myself, they possibly change their name from Amazon to. So, Joe – which one's real? Remember, there's two fake and there's one real. Which one is real? Which ones are fake?
Wow.
Did I stump you?
Well, look, give me a second here. Guys, I would say the first one sounded fake. Okay. So now I'm down to either Terrell Owens or Amazon. I would say, you know what? I'm going to have to say Amazon is the fake story.
Okay, so you're saying T.O. is real.
Yeah.
I have sad news for you, Joe.
Really?
You are correct. Okay, you're correct.
Okay, get ready.
You got it right. But let me ask you this though: had you seen the news that T.O. is trying to come back?
I didn't, Sean. That's why this was so difficult. That's what took me a second here, because unlike the first thing you did last show, I knew that because I saw the news. I hadn't seen this or anywhere, but I wouldn't put it past T.O. for him to think that he could do something like that. That sounds like him. So I thought, no, I'm gonna say he's real. And as far as this guy, this joker with Amazon, that boss, I don't see him ever changing that name, unless he sells it to someone else.
Yeah. All right, cool. So that's the
Bezos.
segment.
That's what the clown's name is. Bezos. Yeah, that's him.
I
wouldn't see him changing the name.
Yeah, we got a new segment. This is a little bit darker one.
You like that, didn't you?
It's about Bryan Kohberger. This is the monster or alleged monster that was arrested for the Idaho murders. He apparently killed 4 students who were under the age of 22. I think they were all around 20 or 21. Blatantly just and graphically murdered them, went in their house and stabbed them to death violently. He's 28 years old. Um, Luckily, they think they got the right guy because they found evidence from the crime scene. The killer, they didn't know it was Kohberger at the time, left a knife sheath. A sheath is something that covers a knife so it can't stab you while it's in your pocket or something like that. It's like a leather type thing that goes over the blade. Um, they found that on the bed of the crime scene, and it matches the DNA taken from his family home. They went through his trash, um, and they seized his trash and they matched the DNA from the knife sheath to that. But I guess they were also tracking him, and his dad were driving across the country, and he got pulled over twice by police in Indiana. But apparently they pulled him over because he was driving too close to the car in front of them. But they did it twice, so that's suspicious. You're like, why would they do that twice? Why would they pull over? Maybe they pulled him over once, and maybe the other guy told the other cop, this guy's driving too close. But that doesn't really happen a lot. It's usually more speeding tickets out in those highways. But the reason was apparently the FBI denies this, but the New York Post reported that the FBI instructed the police to pull over this specific car that he was driving, like an old white Hyundai. He was driving across country from Washington to Pennsylvania with his father. He was driving cross country, and they wanted images and videos from the body cam of the police of his hands to see if there's any scars and cuts on his hands. Because if he was, murdering these people with a knife, I guess there would be like marks on his hands and stuff. But the FBI denies that. They didn't deny it completely. They said they were working with like a criminal task force that I guess involves the police too. But anyway, they pulled him over. They got body cam footage. The guy apparently is really creepy. There's a lot of weird stories about him. He was actually going to college for criminal justice. And what I read was a lot of killers in jail, they're interviewed. They said a lot of people in criminal justice reach out to them because they want to get in the minds of killers. But this guy, he was trained to be in the police criminal justice industry. It's kind of scary that he could have been like a police, he was getting his PhD. So I don't know what level he would have been. It would have been more academic maybe, but, apparently this guy's a monster. Some girl went on a date with him. She said, on TikTok, she went on a Tinder date with him and she said he was kind of weird. This is all speculation. If this guy's innocent, I apologize for what I'm saying, but I wanted to make it a point. This is going to be a big case. It's going to be a national case. It's going to be all over the news. The court case is probably going to be on TV. I want to do a segment at least once a show or once every other show with an update in the Bryan Kohberger case. I know, Joe, you don't want to talk about it too much because this guy's obviously a monster, but what do you think? Do you think this guy's definitely guilty? Is this your first impression?
Well, I'm not going to say I think he's definitely guilty. What I'm going to say is there's an awful, awful, awful lot of circumstantial evidence pointing in his direction. Let me just say that. And he just really scares me. I mean, if it's true and he did it this way, you want to talk about a sociopath to the, I can't even, it's really, really disturbing. So much so.
You read a book. Let me just interrupt you real quick because it's important. You read a book all about sociopaths called like The Sociopath Next Door. Is there any insights from that book that you put on this guy immediately? Like, oh, this guy matches that.
Well, if he's guilty, he doesn't seem to be showing much remorse at all. And sociopaths are incapable. It's not that they don't want to. Their brains are incapable of feeling remorse. And what they do, they find out at an early age that they're supposed to show a certain affect when they see something sad, because it doesn't come to them naturally. They don't feel anything. So that if they see a cat get hit by a car, they have to think, okay, what am I supposed to feel now? What does everyone think? What emotion should I show the world right now? Oh, that's sorrow. Okay. And then they act it. But for that split second in there, and they did research where they really, really timed out and had people hooked up to different equipment. And they really have this down, that the sociopath brain, there's a gap in there. Because they don't know what to do. And then, like I just explained, eventually they learn how to adapt, and they do that little rationale I just did with you. It takes them now about a microsecond, a half a second, maybe a little less, just to get that, but it's almost instantaneous. it's hard for you to see them do that, but that's what they do. That's how they do it. And they do it because they learn they have to do something like that because in you and in me and in most people, that reaction would be automatic. It's just like, oh my God, that little dog just got hit by oh my God, I feel terrible. We do it automatically. They don't do it automatically, but they realize they have to show the world an emotion when they see something like that, but they're not sure what to do. And then they think it through and they get it through and they finally link that. But that's how they go through their whole life. But to answer your question, I see that lack of, he's just very matter of fact, very, no, I was down here. I wasn't even, that kind of, so that I haven't heard him speak much. I haven't heard his testimony. I haven't anything like that. But the box that he does check right off the top is just absolutely little or no remorse because they're just incapable of it. That's all for now.
Yeah, and apparently, he was in chat rooms after they're trying to figure out who killed the four students. Apparently, he was in chat rooms speculating on the crime, and some people accused them oh, you probably did it. And apparently, he actually went to they usually have these mourning they light candles and they mourn the victims. Apparently, he attended the vigil, the vigils and stuff. So this guy really is a monster. He's getting, he wants. That's what happens. I've seen a lot of crime shows, especially the shows like Dexter and stuff. A lot of these monsters like to go to the crime scene and be around the crime scene and see this is their response. They're like, oh my God, I was responsible for this. And there's people crying, there's people freaking out, there's families, and they love being so close to what they did. That's the scary part about these people.
Well, that's one of the reasons I was a little bit hesitant when you mentioned that you want to do this regularly too, because I don't think anyone listening to us would fit that criteria. I really don't. I would hope not. But I don't want to be responsible for giving any one of these jokers some kind of an idea, any kind of an idea of, so that's kind of what I just don't. Part of me wants to just, okay, that is what it is over there. I don't want to talk about that guy or about that whole thing because it creeps me out. I don't want to be involved with it. Nor do I want to give some mixed up joker who could be listening. I'm not saying, I don't know. I don't know everybody. I know most of our listeners are wonderful, beautiful people that would never even dream about doing this, like you and I would never. But suppose there's one mixed up person out there, and I don't want to give them an idea oh yeah, that would be exciting, and this is why he did this because he wanted to get his rocks off, and he wanted to feel. Listen, I that's part of why I don't like. I wasn't nuts about the idea of doing this regularly, Sean. That's the only thing. And this is, that's the only thing that I can't say. It's like when these people on the news and coverage here and no, and they'll cover this, they'll cover that. And I'm thinking, well, what the hell are you doing? You're sitting here and in San Antonio, Texas somewhere, there's some guy in his basement looking at you getting ideas because you're spoon feeding him ideas. That's all.
Yeah, but that's really all. Paranoid. We're not, because we haven't done anything on the show to be targeted.
It's not necessarily paranoid, dude. That happens.
Well, because it's one of those things though. Do you hear a lot about newscasters and stuff being murdered? I rarely ever hear that.
This was talking about them getting murdered. I'm talking about them giving them ideas to go out and do shit.
Oh, well, they're going to find their ideas anyway, man. They're going to look at the sky. They're going to open their door. They're going to, they're already damaged people anyway. They're going to figure out, we could also be preventing them too. You have to think about it that way too.
And I just don't see what's, if we're going to touch on this every show, we'll touch a couple minutes on every show. That's fine. Yeah. But I don't want to make this guy more than he is.
I just want to give
some jerk off is really what he is.
I want to give some updates on it. But our current events today, the ones we really want to talk about, because Kohberger is not going to be necessarily our current event. Kohberger is going to be a little possible segment every other episode or so. Just this is what happened. This is the new details of the case. Just in case anyone's not following that closely or they want to hear our spin on it, our perspective. I think it's fair. I'm not really,
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now we're on the same team.
So the article I wanted to focus on today, from the New York Times, called "A Heavily Armed Man Caused Panic at a Supermarket, but Did He Break the Law?" So some guy named Rico Marley, he's 22. He walked into a public supermarket in Atlanta, and he had 6 loaded weapons, 4 handguns and jacket pockets, a guitar bag, a semi-automatic rifle, and a 12-gauge shotgun. And he was in the bathroom. Apparently his excuse, his alibi is that he was in the bathroom. He had nowhere to store the weapons. He didn't have a car. So he brought them into the store, the public supermarket. and he was in the bathroom. He spilled guacamole all over his like weapons. So he was cleaning the weapons. So some guy went in the bathroom and he heard this, like the gun, like clicking noises. And he saw like the guns, like rested against this in the bathroom and stuff like that. And the whole supermarket panicked and they vacated the whole supermarket. But the problem with this crime is like, what crime did he really commit? Because he didn't make any threats, didn't fire any shots. He legally purchased the guns. He didn't violate Georgia law. But it's a long unresolved legal odyssey. They don't know what they can do with him. They can charge him. Can they set him free? I think what they ended up charging him for was like disturbing the peace. Because at first they tried to give him like other laws that he broke, but they're like trying to figure out, you know, what's a sensitive place? What's a sensitive place where you can't bring any sort of firearm in? Polling places and courthouses are apparently sensitive places, but apparently supermarkets are not sensitive places because all but 3 states allow for open carry of handguns, long guns, and there's little police can do. So they might see someone carrying around like a big gun. They're like, what can we do about this guy? He's scaring people. He legally has the right, or he's a madman, or he's both, is what they say. But I think originally they charged him with the criminal attempt to commit a felony and 6 counts of possession of a weapon during commission of an attempt to commit certain felonies. Those charges were dismissed. And then the grand jury had 10 lesser counts of reckless conduct, which is only a misdemeanor. So this guy's only getting a misdemeanor, and he could possibly have got very lucky. The people who didn't die that day got very lucky, but he could have got very lucky in the sense that he was going to commit a crime, was going to do a mass shooting in that Publix supermarket or wherever he was going, and they stopped him. But now he's getting off on the technicalities. That's a scary part. So this is just a kind of a scary thing. And Joe, what do you think? What do you think about something like this? It's kind of scary. There's no specific laws to prevent people from walking into a supermarket with like bags of weapons, you know?
You know, to me, it's you know, every time I turn around, mostly now, it's down south. It's Virginia. I mean, Virginia is one of the worst places. I mean, but it's usually one of these southern states that let you carry an M16 to, you know, McDonald's breakfast and wherever. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But if it's that's the way you want your state run, if that's the way you want your gun laws, you got it. Period. That's how I feel.
Okay. Well, another thing I read was you're talking about Virginia. There was Newport News, Virginia, a 6-year-old from an elementary school shot a teacher with a handgun. It's a rare example because there's not a lot of shootings like this with an exceptionally young child. Apparently the boy and the teacher did have an altercation in the classroom before the boy shot the teacher. But the teacher was, you know, life-threatening injuries. Then they didn't release the name of the teacher, even the gender, I don't think, or the kid. I think it's a female victim. So yeah, it's a female teacher. We just don't know the name. And there's only been like 16 incidents involving shooters under the age of 10, and even fewer by, you know, children as young as 6. But what do you do in situations like this? Because you can't charge a child as an adult. But there's a law in Virginia. We talked about Virginia prohibiting parents. The parents are responsible. We talked about this a couple episodes ago about the parents being responsible, you know, for approving their kid to get a gun. But in this situation, the law in Virginia is you can't leave a loaded gun accessible to children under the age of 14. But also Virginia, though, they have that law. They don't have a broad law that prohibits all guns from being safely stored in homes. So you know, some of these parents are storing these guns anywhere. So it's weird, you know. You can't have a loaded gun, keyword, you know, loaded, accessible to children under the age of 14. But they also don't have a broad law that prohibits or requires the guns to be safely stored. So, you know, they might be away from the children, but they're still not safely stored. But yeah, Virginia law, it's a 6-year-old, right? They can't be charged as an adult. It's not even possible. They could be, you know, possible. I think they'd be charged criminally in juvenile court, but the minimum age in juvenile court in Virginia is 11 years old. So, you know, it's one of those things where this child, what's the punishment for the 6-year-old? He shot his teacher. He's obviously got violent tendencies and he did it with intent, but there's not really like laws even in juvenile court yet. There's like all I just talked about with the supermarket. There's no real laws against, you know, bringing lots of guns in a supermarket and scaring people and causing panic. Then there's no laws, you know, preventing a child as young as 6 of shooting his teacher. It's like, we really have to, like, you know, shore up some of these laws in these gray areas and have specific guidelines, you know, prohibiting these things and punishments ready. So when you hear these two stories, Joe, what are your thoughts? You know,
yeah, so, again, with the first one, he's not violating any state law, which tells me they need to change the state law, but they probably won't because that was down south too, wasn't it? Yeah. The good old boys
Yeah,
aren't going to give up their gun.
Georgia, yeah.
Georgia,
Atlanta.
right. So, right, Joey. The good old boys aren't going to give up their gun rights and all that. Okay, it doesn't matter. So forget that. It's hopeless. The second one is Virginia, which isn't far behind. And in some ways, it's even worse than Georgia. I don't see a gun law problem there. What I see there is a parental problem there. A very, very irresponsible parent for that 6-year-old. I don't care if it's locked up and that 6-year-old found the keys and got into it. He still shouldn't have been able to do it. You absolutely cannot let a 6-year-old get their hands on something like that, period. If you want to own it, I understand, especially if she was a single mother or whatever it was in this world today, you need some protection. I thought about it myself a couple of 3-4 times but then I thought, nah, I ain't going to do it. But now a single woman though, in this world today, and I don't know if she's single or not, but whatever. I can understand you want to own one for protection, but I can't understand as you ever being so goddamn irresponsible that kid found a way to get that weapon. And another thing that pops into my head, I know we go to music back and forth. I got a sore throat, so I'm in and out of, my voice is in and out of. But that song from Pearl Jam, Jeremy's Spoken, the words just, they're flowing at me right now with this little guy grabbing a gun and going in. He's spoken class today, It's just, and that's not to make light of it, but I'm just saying that sometimes lyrics follow you around. And, but the problem there is parental. That's all. But neither of those states is really going to, they're not going to relinquish their firearms. Let's face it. They are what they are.
Yeah. All right. So, moving on to sports. So your Eagles came through. They beat
barely
beat the Giants. Looked like a pretty easy win. But then I wrongly predicted, because I said my prediction earlier was right. Because I also predicted the Cowboys to beat the Eagles a couple of games ago. I predicted them to win like 40-36 or 38-35, and it was pretty much that identical score. But this case, I got it wrong about the Commanders. I thought the Cowboys would handle the Commanders. I didn't even realize that they were starting Sam Howell, the rookie quarterback who's never started a game. But yeah, the Cowboys lost. Dak Prescott threw another pick six, and he's this year, I think he set a record. He's the first quarterback to lead the league in interceptions despite missing 5+ games. The only other quarterbacks to do that was Norm Snead in 1973, Jake Plummer in 1999, and Carson Wentz in 2020. So it's kind of sad, but he also threw a second. I hate when quarterbacks throw pick sixes, let alone multiple ones in a season. This is his second pick six. So, I don't know if I have a lot of faith for Dak in the playoffs. It would have been nice if, ideally the Cowboys could have won, the 49ers would have lost, the Eagles would have lost, and they got the number 1 seed in the bye, but whatever. Now we got to play Tom Brady, out of all players, the greatest football player in history, not just quarterback, probably football player ever. Tom Brady on Monday night in primetime, the last playoff game of the weekend. I don't know. We're favored by 2.5 points, but I'm not that confident. I wouldn't be surprised if we win, but I can never say definitively if the Cowboys will win, because it's like they're such a confusing team. And also, I kind of want Sean Payton as our next coach. So if we lose, just to get the torture over with, don't give us false hope, Cowboys. Don't get us to the NFC Championship and get blown out or something like that. And if we get the NFC Championship, we're thinking, oh, McCarthy got us the NFC Championship. We got to give him another year. No, Sean Payton's available, and he's putting together a master staff, a great staff, like a phenomenal staff.
But he's not going to work for Jerry Jones, bro.
Yeah, but he's already worked for Jerry Jones, and Jerry Jones is getting older now, and he's probably getting sick. He's probably sitting a little clearer now. He's getting sick of the Cowboys. He's sick of, he's basically the GM. He's probably getting sick of the Cowboys being disappointing. And I think Jones will happily pay Sean Payton handsomely and welcome him in, and I think that would be great for the Cowboys. But also, I also want the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl this year, so I would love for them to win the Super Bowl this year, and then maybe probably we wouldn't get Sean Payton because McCarthy obviously would have won a Super Bowl. But even if we win a Super Bowl, because I don't think it's I don't think there's that much teams that are far ahead of everyone else this year, so it's possible the Cowboys can win. But I don't know, the playoff games. The first game Saturday is the Seahawks 49ers. 49ers are favored by 10. I think the 49ers win that pretty easily. Even though I was very surprised. Geno Smith has set the single season franchise record for the Seahawks for passing yards in a season. I thought Russell Wilson easily had that record, but apparently Geno Smith beat him. So Russell Wilson, He didn't pass for as many yards as I thought.
Okay.
And then the 49 the Chargers are playing the Jaguars Saturday night. Looks like the Chargers are only favored by. I'm surprised the Chargers are only favored by a point, but the reason why the Chargers started off so slow is because Herbert hurt his ribs. He was injured. They didn't have some receivers. They didn't have Mike Williams for a couple of games, I think. So I think the Chargers win that too. And then Sunday, Dolphins Bills. I don't know what the quarterback situation is for the Dolphins because Skylar Thompson, the rookie quarterback, had to play last Sunday versus the Jets. They're favored by the Bills are favored by 9. I think the Bills win that easily. Vikings Giants. Vikings favored by 3. Yeah, I think I don't know. That's a tough one. I think that's the toughest game so far of all the ones I mentioned. I think the Vikings will probably squeak that one out because they have some magic this year. Ravens Bengals favored by 7. I think that the Bengals will definitely win that game. I think there's some Burrow magic. Jamar Chase is back. And then Cowboys Bucks on Monday night. And I think I'm a Cowboys fan. I want the Cowboys to win, but I explain my rationale. If they lose, it's not the end of the world. We'll probably get Sean Payton, hopefully. Eagles are sitting pretty till next week, Joe. But what's your thoughts on some of these playoff matchups?
Okay, before I start, let's just get some clarity on Sean Payton. Sean Payton knows Jerry Jones. He does. He even lives in the Dallas area. He was a position coach under a different. No, but the story that I hear, the reality story that I hear is that he would, and it makes sense. He would never be a head coach under this guy because this guy, Jerry Jones, is going to grab all the glory and everything else. And he just doesn't want to work. And he's also going to try to call the shots. Peyton says he would never, people that know Peyton say he would never, ever work for Jerry Jones. And you can understand why. That's why Jerry Jones, after Jimmy Johnson left, that's why Jerry Jones has never had a quality coach. Bill Parcells maybe, but that's it. They all say, look, this guy wants to call the shots. I can't deal with this guy. And no one is. So Sean Payton is actually looking at 2 positions, both in California. The Rams and the Chargers jobs will both be available when they both have quarterbacks. You don't have a quarterback here in Dallas to lure him over here. This guy you got as a freaking joke. I almost said a bad word on. He's a freaking joke. I told you that a long time ago. He's a joke. He's not a good quarterback. Those other 2 places have decent quarterbacks, Yeah.
So you're saying McCarthy's a joke, you're saying?
Who?
And Dak's a joke? McCarthy and Dak are a joke or Dak's a joke?
Dak.
Okay.
McCarthy's not far behind, so I just wanted to bring you some reality on Sean Payton. Sean Payton's not going to be the coach of the callous Cowboys. All right, so that's number one. Now let's get to the games. The Giants play the Vikings, and I would like to see the Giants win because I want the Giants back here. I don't want to have to play Tampa or you guys. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a breath of fresh air. I think the Cowboys are going to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think they're going to beat the Buccaneers because they're not going to have 2 stinkers in a row, okay? They're not going to have 2 stinkers in a row. So they don't do that. So I think they're going to beat the Dallas Cowboys by maybe 4 points. And that's it. The Bills win, and I don't know who else is playing on there. You got the Bills winning. I got the Cowboys winning. I got the Giants winning because I want them to come here. And who else?
The Vikings, Giants. So you said you have the Giants winning versus the Vikings?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
That's what I'm hoping.
Why do you think? What's your thought process? You think Dayball is a better coach? That's more. Look, I'm hoping that the Vikings have one of their bad days and the Giants have a pretty good day. I'd rather play because if they do, we play them here. That's who we got coming in. I'd rather have the New York Giants coming in than either of the other 2 teams coming in, which would be Dallas or Tampa. I don't want either one of those 2 coming in. I'm not crazy about that. All right. So, okay, and I'm sorry about before, but you wouldn't let me get a word in edgewise. You kept cutting me off, so I had to speak a little louder. You're my boy. I can do that. Sorry. Sometimes because I've had people tell me about the show.
Sometimes people tell me the same thing, Bo.
We're trying to go back and forth. Sometimes neither of us, doesn't matter if it's me or you. We're not doing enough back and forth where we could hear exactly. Like I'm trying to interrupt you really quick. I'm like, and I don't know if you could hear me sometimes. You're so locked into your speech, and I like that. You're passionate.
Right. And I'm thinking, why is he?
I just want to make sure.
Doesn't he understand I'm trying to make a point? Why doesn't
he
just butt it up?
Make sure our audience can understand. But Chargers, Jaguars, the other game, but Brandon Staley is the coach of the Chargers. I think Brandon Staley's only been the coach for a couple of years, and there's no guarantee that Sean McVay wants to get out of the only reason Sean McVay would leave apparently from the Rams is because the Rams might be rebuilding, and Sean McVay doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild. So Brandon Staley and Sean McVay are two young coaches. So you think that the Chargers and the Rams will be open for Peyton?
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. Either one of those could be
So
not open.
So what about Sean McVay to Dallas? Would McVay want to go with the Cowboys?
The word on McVay
I want a Sean as the Cowboys coach. Let's make that clear. I want a Sean as the Cowboys coach. Yeah.
No, the thing on McVay is that he wants to maybe take a step away from coaching and be in TV for a while. That's the thing with McVay. Yeah. The other guy's going to get fired. I don't know where his name is, but he's going to get fired. Well, McVay's going to step away.
But here's the other thing. Like, it's like McCarthy, though. What if the Chargers get to is getting to the AFC Championship good enough? What if they beat the Jaguars and then they beat whoever they have to play next, and then they get to the AFC Championship and they have a respectable loss? You really think the Chargers brass, the leaders there, the front office is going to get rid of Staley?
Well, let's see if they get that far. And even if they do, it's possible. Okay. To get a coach like this to have, because you have a quarterback there, maybe one of the best in the league in the Chargers, and the Rams, they still have, what's his name? Stafford, right? And whoever it is could work.
They also have Baker Mayfield, though. They could also
right. And Baker's not a slouch. He's not a scrub. He's more of a quarterback than like I was telling you. There's nothing on that Dallas roster quarterback. And Sean Payton needs a quarterback. That's part of his whole deal. He's a quarterback whisperer. So he's not going to come on board with either. Come on. And then the word is out. These guys know each other. He knows Jerry. Oh yeah, go there. He'll hang around. He lives in Dallas. He'll be friends with the guy and all that kind of stuff. And he'll go up, maybe have a steak dinner with him and all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, he knows, dude, I'm Sean Payton. I want a ring. I want so many seasons with Drew Brees, and I'm a legend basically in the coaching industry. And I'm going to come here where this clown is going to start telling me who's playing and who isn't playing. He's going to step in the limelight, take all the glory. Without me, he's nothing. This is what a lot of people in the industry are aware of, and that's why a Mike McCarthy, sure, he'll hire a Mike McCarthy, Okay, Mr. Jones.
You don't think there's any similarities between Mike McCarthy and Sean Payton? Mike McCarthy had Aaron Rodgers, who won a Super Bowl. Sean Payton had Drew Brees, who's won a Super Bowl, and they never won another one again. You don't think there's any thing surrounding Sean Payton being similar to McCarthy, like a disappointment? Like once he doesn't get the proper quarterback and he can't win without a star quarterback?
No, I think because Payton was better for so much longer than the other guy, McCarthy. That's longevity. And then at one point, the quarterback in Green Bay, Rodgers, started to have complaints about the head coach and about the way he views offense and his whole philosophy. That never happened down there in New Orleans. Those guys were joined at the hip and had the utmost respect for each other. So I think although there are some similarities between those two guys, there are some profound differences too. So, and I just think overall, Sean Payton's held in higher regard as a coach than Mike McCarthy. And I don't think Mike McCarthy's a fool, but he's certainly not on that level. But he'll take a job. Okay, Mr. Jones, whatever you want. He didn't coach for 6 or 7 years there, I think. No one wanted him at all.
McCarthy wasn't really a hot commodity. And I don't even think McCarthy did TV. That was a thing. But anyway, I just want to talk about, before we wrap up the show, Damar Hamlin is doing a lot better. The player on the Bills who was in critical condition. Yes. He's been moved from the Cincinnati hospital to a Buffalo hospital. He's talking. He's aware of what's going on around him. So the prayers and thoughts and prayers for Damar seem to be working. If you don't believe in that, he's just getting better. Time is doing its thing. It's healing him. Time's supposed to heal all wounds, apparently. So shout out to Damar Hamlin. We hope to, see you play football again for sure. As far as the show goes, we went a little bit long today. We'd like to do more college basketball, some more NBA, Knicks, Sixers talk. But the Knicks, Jalen Brunson scored 44 points last night, but the Knicks blew another lead. They played the Bucks and they blew the lead. Seems like Tom Thibodeau doesn't know how to maintain leads. He doesn't make the right substitutions and has a pulse for the team and momentum. So I'm disappointed in Tom Thibodeau. Jalen Brunson's exceeding expectations. Joe, as you know, Tyrese Maxey's back, so the Sixers they're playing the Pistons right now as we speak, and they're beating the Pistons by almost 30 points or something like that. So, we'll talk more basketball in the future. Right now, it's especially the NFL playoffs are starting, so just from clarity for everyone to be up front, we're going to probably going to be focusing more on football for our sports wrap up. But once football ends, we're going to be into basketball and baseball for sure. Even doing some English Premier League soccer because I'm a big Manchester United fan, so I'd love to speak about Manchester United on the show if I can. Joe, you have any last words for anybody?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you please, could you bring your attention to me? Good night.
All right. Good night, everyone.